The morning shift at Kepler Station always started the same way. Ambassador Haiyan Wu would check the daily reports from Earth, review trade agreements, and prepare briefings for the Galactic Council. But this morning was different. The communication array showed nothing but empty static where Earth signals should be. Haiyan Wu frowned at his screen. Technical problems were common in deep space, but Earth had multiple backup systems. He tried different frequencies, checked the relay stations, even contacted other human colonies. Nothing worked. "Computer, run full diagnostic on communication array," he said. "Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning normally," the artificial voice replied. That made it worse. If the equipment worked fine, then something had happened to Earth itself. 3 sectors away, Taemin was finishing his shift at the mining platform when his personal communicator buzzed. A message from his sister Bo-Ra on Earth appeared on the small screen. Her face looked excited, almost glowing with happiness. "Taemin, something wonderful is happening here," she said, her voice filled with joy. "I cannot explain it properly, but everyone feels it. The whole planet feels different. Like we are all becoming something more. Do not worry about us. We are fine, better than fine. Take care of yourself out there." The message ended. Taemin tried to call her back immediately, but the connection failed. He tried again and again, but Earth's communication networks had gone completely silent. At the Galactic Council headquarters on Centauri Prime, the first emergency session in 50 years was beginning. Representatives from dozens of species filled the Great Hall. The Zephyrians sat in their environmental suits, their blue skin visible through the transparent material. The rock-like granite people stood in the back, too heavy for regular seats. The insect-like Vex clicked their mandibles nervously. Council leader Mordan called for order. His species, the Altarians, were known for their calm nature and logical thinking. Today, even he seemed worried. "We have received reports that Earth has gone silent," he announced. "No communications, no energy readings, no spacecraft movement. This happened approximately 6 hours ago across all monitoring stations." The hall erupted in noise. Some species seemed worried, but others appeared relieved. The humans had been expanding too fast, growing too powerful, adapting too quickly to every environment. Many species had been concerned about what humans might do next. Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrians stood up. His voice came through his suit speakers with a metallic echo. "Perhaps this is not a problem to solve, but a problem that has solved itself." Several other representatives nodded in agreement. The humans had been the galaxy's greatest concern. They showed up in every system, built colonies on impossible planets, and seemed to make friends with every species they met. Even more troubling, they learned and adapted faster than anyone else. What took other species thousands of years to develop, humans figured out in decades. But not everyone was happy about Earth's silence. Trade routes that depended on human goods were already showing problems. Human technology, medicine, and engineering had become essential to many worlds. Their disappearance would cause serious economic issues. Captain Jin Ho of the merchant vessel, Star Dancer, was already feeling the effects. He had contracts to deliver human-made medical supplies to 5 different systems. Without those supplies, people would die. He sat in his ship's communication room, trying desperately to contact any human settlement. "This is Star Dancer calling any human vessel or station. Please respond. We have urgent medical supply deliveries. Please respond." Only silence answered him. On the Outer Rim Station Theta 7, Dr. Su-Jin was studying the data from Earth's solar system. As a xenobiologist, she had worked closely with humans for years. She found them fascinating. Their ability to adapt and survive in any environment was unlike any other species in the galaxy. "The energy readings make no sense," she told her assistant, a young Altarian named Keklon. "Earth is still there. The planet exists, the atmosphere is intact, but there are no life signs. No electromagnetic signatures, no heat sources from cities, nothing. Perhaps they evacuated?" Keklon suggested. 8 billion humans? In 6 hours? Without anyone noticing massive fleet movements? Impossible. Dr. Su-Jin had another theory, but it seemed too crazy to believe. The humans had been evolving rapidly, not just culturally and technologically, but apparently biologically too. Recent studies suggested their neural patterns were changing, becoming more complex. Some researchers thought humans might be evolving into something entirely new, but evolution did not work that fast. It took millions of years, not hours. Meanwhile, back on Kepler Station, Ambassador Hyun Woo was getting reports from human colonies throughout the galaxy. The outer settlements were all functioning normally, but they were as confused as everyone else about Earth's silence. Admiral Kyung-soo contacted him from the military, stationed at Wolf 359. "I am organizing a joint expedition to investigate," the admiral said. "We need to know what happened to Earth." "I will support this mission," Yan-woo replied. "But we must be careful. Other species are watching our response. Some seem happy that Earth has gone quiet." That was the disturbing truth. Across the galaxy, several species were celebrating. The Krex War Councils were already discussing expansion into former human territories. The Vorthon merchants were planning to take over human trade routes. The galaxy's most successful species had suddenly vanished, leaving opportunities for everyone else. But there were also concerns. The humans had been mediators in many conflicts, peacekeepers in troubled regions, and innovators who solved problems other species could not handle. Without them, old conflicts might restart. Trade networks would collapse. Scientific progress would slow down. As the day continued, more reports came in. Every human settlement in the Sol system was silent. Mars colonies, Jupiter mining stations, asteroid facilities, all showed the same pattern. Present but lifeless, like someone had simply turned off a switch. The mystery deepened when long-range sensors detected that all human structures were intact. No signs of battle, no debris, no indication of evacuation. The humans had not been destroyed or forced to leave. They had simply stopped. In his quarters that night, Timon played his sister's message over and over. Her words echoed in his mind. "Something wonderful is happening." She had looked happy, excited even. This did not seem like a disaster or an attack. It seemed like something the humans had chosen. But what could make 8 billion people disappear voluntarily, and why would they leave without explaining anything to their fellow humans living in other systems? The galaxy held its breath, waiting for answers that might never come. Earth's silence had created more questions than anyone knew how to handle. Some species hoped the humans were simply gone forever. Others feared what their disappearance might mean for galactic stability. But deep in their hearts, many beings across the galaxy suspected that humanity's story was far from over. Something that could make an entire planet's population vanish in an instant was beyond anything they understood. And if the humans had gained such power, their silence might be more frightening than any threat they had posed before. The Great Silence had begun, but its consequences were only just starting to unfold. 3 months had passed since Earth went silent. What started as confusion had turned into galaxy-wide concern. The absence of humanity was felt everywhere, like a missing piece in a giant puzzle. Captain Veltar stared at his company's financial reports with growing worry. His shipping empire, built over 30 years, was crumbling. Without human manufacturing, half his cargo routes had become useless. Human factories had produced medicines that other species could not make, tools designed with incredible precision, and food products that many worlds now depended on. "Sir, we have lost another contract," his assistant informed him. "The Altarian colonies cannot get replacement parts for their water purification systems. Only humans knew how to make them." Veltar's blue skin darkened with stress. "How many more contracts?" 17 more systems have canceled orders this week. Without human goods, we have nothing to transport." The Zephyrian captain was not alone. Across the galaxy, trade networks were falling apart. The humans had become essential to galactic commerce without anyone realizing it. Their disappearance left holes that other species could not fill. On Centauri Prime, the Galactic Council was dealing with bigger problems. Several conflicts that humans had been mediating were starting up again. The Krex had already attacked 3 neutral systems, claiming them as abandoned human territory. The Vorthon were using their parasitic abilities more aggressively, knowing there were no human peacekeepers to stop them. Council leader Mordan called an emergency session. "We cannot continue without answers," he announced to the assembled representatives. "I am authorizing a joint expedition to investigate the Sol system directly." Many species volunteered ships and crew for the mission, though their motivations were mixed. Some genuinely wanted to help find the humans. Others hoped to claim human technology and territory for themselves. Admiral Kyung-soo was chosen to lead the expedition. As one of the few humans living outside the Sol system, he understood human technology better than anyone else. His fleet consisted of ships from 6 different species, with crews trained in various specialties. "We will approach slowly and carefully," he told his officers during the briefing. "We do not know what happened to Earth, so we must be prepared for anything." Dr. Sujin joined the expedition as chief science officer. She had studied human biology for years and hoped her knowledge would be useful. Commander Wu Sung led the tactical team, ready for any dangers they might find. The journey to Sol took 2 weeks using the fastest hyperspace routes. As they approached the outer edge of the solar system, the first surprise was waiting for them. "Admiral, sensors are detecting something unusual," reported Lieutenant Yun Hai from the navigation station. "All human structures in the system are still intact and powered, but there are no life signs anywhere." Admiral Kyung-soo frowned at the displays. Jupiter's mining stations showed normal energy readings but no movement. Mars colonies were lit up like cities but completely empty. The asteroid belt facilities were functioning automatically, with no one operating them. "It is like they all just left," Dr. Sujin said quietly. "But where did they go?" As the fleet moved closer to Earth, the mystery deepened. The planet looked normal from space. Satellites orbited in their proper positions. Space stations maintained their coordinates, and the International Spaceport showed landing lights were still on. But no ships moved between them. No communications came from any facility. "Scanning Earth's surface now," reported Engineer Jinho. "Cities are fully powered, but I detect no human life signs. Wait, that cannot be right. What is it?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked. "The power grids show normal usage patterns, like people are still living there and using electricity. But thermal imaging shows no body heat anywhere. Traffic control systems are active, but no vehicles are moving. It is as if the entire planet is on autopilot." Commander Wu Sung studied the tactical readings. No defensive systems are active, no weapons are powered. If this was an invasion or attack, there would be signs of battle. "This looks more like an organized departure." But Dr. Sujin was not convinced. 8 billion humans cannot just leave a planet in perfect order. And why would they abandon their home without telling the human colonies and other systems? The expedition established orbit around Earth and began detailed scans. Every major city was examined, every spaceport checked, every facility investigated. The results were always the same. Infrastructure intact, systems running, but no humans anywhere. Dr. Nari, the fleet's quantum physicist, made the first important discovery. "Admiral, I am detecting unusual quantum signatures around areas where human populations were highest. The pattern suggests some kind of massive quantum event occurred." "What kind of event?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked. "I am not certain. The readings are unlike anything in our databases. It appears that something caused a quantum field disturbance on a planetary scale. This should be impossible with current technology." The science teams worked around the clock analyzing the strange quantum signatures. The patterns were complex and seemed to follow mathematical rules that no one understood. Whatever had happened to Earth involved physics beyond their current knowledge. Meanwhile, other disturbing reports were coming in from across the galaxy. The expedition received messages from dozens of systems describing strange behavioral changes in various species. "Admiral, you need to hear this," Commander Wu Sung said, playing a recording from a Krex battle fleet. The Krex commander reports that his warriors are having difficulty maintaining aggressive behavior. They describe feeling peaceful. More reports followed. Fourth-hand merchants were finding they could no longer drain life energy from other species. Their parasitic abilities were simply gone. Several predatory species reported similar changes, as if their violent instincts had been switched off. "This cannot be coincidence," Dr. Sujin said during a staff meeting. "Human disappearance and galaxy-wide behavioral changes happening at the same time? There must be a connection." Engineer Jin Ho had been studying Earth's computer systems remotely. "I have accessed some of Earth's databases. The last entries are strange. Scientists were reporting unusual neural activity in human populations worldwide. Brain scans showed patterns they had never seen before." "What kind of patterns?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked. "Increased connectivity between brain regions, new neural pathways forming rapidly, electrical activity at levels that should be impossible for biological brains. The reports suggest humans were evolving neurologically but extremely fast." Dr. Nari looked up from her quantum analysis. "That matches what I am finding. The quantum signatures indicate a massive consciousness event, as if millions of minds suddenly changed state simultaneously. The pieces were starting to form a picture. but it was a picture that challenged everything they understood about biology and physics. The evidence suggested that humanity had somehow evolved beyond physical existence, but such a transformation should take millions of years, not a few hours. We need to investigate Earth's surface directly, Admiral Kyung-soo decided. Prepare landing teams for the major population centers. We must find some clue about what really happened. As the expedition prepared for surface operations, reports continued arriving from across the galaxy. Species after species described fundamental changes in their nature, violent races becoming peaceful, parasitic species losing their harmful abilities, predators finding themselves able to survive without hunting. The galaxy was changing, and somehow humanity's disappearance was the cause. But how could a species affect the entire galaxy by vanishing? And if humans had gained such power, where were they now? The answers lay somewhere on the silent planet below, waiting in empty cities and abandoned facilities. The expedition would soon discover that humanity had not disappeared at all. They had simply become something beyond physical detection. But first, they would have to accept that their understanding of evolution, consciousness, and the very nature of life itself was about to be completely transformed. The search for humanity was about to reveal truths that would change every species in the galaxy forever. The landing shuttles touched down in New York City just after dawn. Lieutenant Eun-hai led the first team through empty streets that should have been full of morning traffic. The silence was complete. No voices, no engines, no sounds of life anywhere. The preservation is perfect, she reported through her communicator. Every building intact, no signs of struggle or panic. Cars are parked normally. Store displays are undisturbed. It looks like everyone simply vanished in the middle of their daily routine. Her team moved through the financial district, checking office buildings and residential areas. Computer terminals were still active, showing work that had been interrupted mid-sentence. Coffee cups sat on desks, still containing liquid but long since cold. Personal belongings remained in place as if their owners had stepped away and planned to return in minutes. Engineer Jin Ho was examining the subway system. Transportation networks are running automatically, he reported. Trains are moving on schedule, but they are completely empty. The computer systems show no awareness that passengers are missing. In London, another team led by Dr. Soo Jin was investigating hospitals and research facilities. Medical equipment is functioning normally, she said, her voice echoing through empty corridors. Life support systems are active but supporting no one. Patient records show normal activity until exactly 3 months ago, then nothing. The most disturbing discovery came from examining homes and personal spaces. Families had vanished together, leaving behind evidence of normal life interrupted. Toys were scattered in children's rooms. Meals were half prepared in kitchens. Televisions were still playing programs to empty living rooms. There was no time for preparation, Dr. Soo Jin concluded. Whatever happened occurred instantly and simultaneously across the entire planet. Commander Woo Sung was leading the investigation of government and military facilities. All defense systems are powered down, he reported. Not destroyed or damaged, properly shut down using correct procedures. Someone with high-level access codes did this deliberately. But who? Admiral Kyung-soo asked from orbit. If all humans disappeared, who shut down the military systems? That question led to an even stranger discovery. Dr. Nari's quantum analysis revealed that the shutdown had occurred after the disappearance event, not before. Somehow, the systems had been properly secured by people who were no longer physically present. The quantum signatures are strongest in areas of high population density, Dr. Nari reported. Schools, offices, residential areas. Wherever humans gathered together, the quantum field disturbance is more intense. Engineer Jin Ho made another important finding while examining Earth's computer networks. All artificial intelligence systems have been cleanly shut down, he said. Not crashed or destroyed, properly powered down using administrative commands. Every AI from the largest supercomputers to simple household assistants. Why would they shut down their AI systems? Lieutenant Eun-hai asked. Maybe they did not want artificial minds interfering with whatever they were doing, Dr. Soo Jin suggested. Or maybe they knew the AI systems could not follow them where they were going. The investigation teams worked for days, collecting data from hundreds of locations. The pattern was always the same: perfect preservation, instant disappearance, and careful shutdown of all automated systems. But they found no bodies, no signs of death, no indication of where 8 billion people had gone. Then Dr. Nari made a breakthrough. While analyzing quantum readings from Times Square, she noticed something unusual in the mathematical patterns. "The quantum signatures are not random," she announced during the evening briefing. "They follow specific mathematical progressions that correspond to neural network structures." "What does that mean?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked. "It means the quantum event was not just affecting matter, it was affecting consciousness itself. The patterns match brainwave signatures but amplified millions of times beyond normal levels." Meanwhile, reports from across the galaxy were confirming the behavioral changes in other species. The changes were not temporary. They appeared to be permanent alterations to fundamental biology and psychology. Research teams on distant worlds were studying these transformations. The Krex military had completely reorganized their society, abandoning conquest in favor of peaceful cooperation. Fourth-hand merchants were discovering they could survive by absorbing solar energy instead of draining life from others. Predatory species were developing new dietary systems that did not require hunting. "The changes affect neural chemistry," reported Dr. Hak-seong from the Altarian Research Station. "Brain structures that controlled aggressive and parasitic behaviors have been fundamentally altered. Not damaged, improved. These species are becoming better versions of themselves." Dr. Nari was beginning to understand the connection. The quantum event that made humans disappear also sent energy waves across the galaxy. These waves interacted with the neural systems of other species, rewriting their basic behavioral patterns. But the biggest discovery came when the teams investigated Earth's scientific facilities. In laboratories around the world, they found research notes describing experiments in consciousness transfer and quantum biology. Human scientists had been working on projects that seemed impossible, attempts to separate consciousness from physical matter. "Look at this," Dr. Soo-jin said, examining files at the Geneva Research Institute. They were studying quantum entanglement in neural tissue. The notes suggest they believed consciousness could exist independently of biological matter. The final pieces of evidence came from Earth's observatories and space monitoring stations. The last recorded data showed unusual quantum readings not just from Earth, but from every inhabited system in the galaxy. The event had been simultaneous across impossible distances, suggesting some kind of instant quantum communication. "They did not just disappear," Dr. Nari concluded. "They evolved. Somehow humanity achieved a transformation from biological to quantum existence. And when they made this change, their consciousness affected every other intelligent species in the galaxy." Admiral Kyung-soo studied the evidence with growing amazement and concern. "Are you saying humans still exist, just in a form we cannot detect?" "Exactly. They have become beings of pure consciousness, existing in quantum dimensions, but their transformation released energy that altered the neural chemistry of every sentient species within thousands of light years. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not been destroyed or evacuated. They had evolved beyond physical existence. And in doing so, they had fundamentally changed every other species in the galaxy, eliminating violence, parasitism, and destructive behaviors." "But why?" Commander Woo-sung asked. "Why would they do this without warning anyone? Why abandon their physical existence?" Dr. Soo-jin found part of the answer in personal messages recovered from Earth's communication networks. In the final hours before the transformation, humans worldwide had reported feeling a collective consciousness emerging, a sense of unity and purpose that transcended individual identity. They describe it as becoming more than human, she read from recovered files. A evolutionary step that would allow them to help other species grow and develop. They believed their transformation would heal the galaxy's problems. And they were right, Dr. Nari added. Every violent conflict in the galaxy has ended. Parasitic species no longer harm others. Predatory races have found peaceful ways to survive. Humanity's evolution has created a golden age of cooperation. But the discovery raised new questions. If humans still existed as quantum beings, were they watching? Were they guiding the changes in other species? And what did this mean for free will and self-determination? As the expedition prepared to leave Earth's orbit, they knew they had found answers to some questions while creating many more. Humanity had achieved something that should have been impossible. Conscious evolution from physical to quantum existence. The empty cities and silent facilities of Earth were not monuments to human disappearance, but to human transformation. Somewhere in quantum dimensions beyond physical detection, 8 billion human consciousnesses continued to exist, having traded their bodies for the power to heal an entire galaxy. The search for humanity was over, but understanding what they had become was just beginning. Dr. Jiwan had spent weeks analyzing the quantum data collected from Earth. Working with scientists from 12 different species, she was beginning to understand the impossible, how humanity had transformed from biological beings into pure consciousness. The mathematics are clear, she explained to the assembled research team. Human neural patterns evolved to a critical threshold where consciousness could exist independently of brain tissue. But the transformation required massive quantum energy, which created ripple effects throughout local space. The team had set up their laboratory on Kepler Station, where they could study the phenomenon safely while maintaining communication with the galactic community. Representatives from dozens of species worked together, sharing knowledge and perspectives that no single race could provide alone. Engineer Dong Hyun was tracking the spread of behavioral changes across the galaxy. His reports painted a picture of transformation that spanned thousands of star systems. Every inhabited world within 3,000 light-years shows the same pattern, he said. Species that were violent have become peaceful. Parasitic races have developed alternative survival methods. Predatory cultures have found cooperative solutions. But the changes are not random, Dr. Jiwan added. The quantum energy specifically targeted neural structures responsible for harmful behaviors, while leaving beneficial traits intact. It was surgical precision on a galactic scale. The breakthrough came when Captain Jae-sung reported unusual quantum readings from his patrol ship near the edge of the affected zone. We are detecting organized quantum patterns, he transmitted. Not the chaotic energy signatures we have been studying, but structured formations that seem intelligent. Dr. Jiwan immediately ordered all available ships to converge on the location. If the quantum patterns were organized, it might mean they could make contact with the transformed humans. When the small fleet arrived at the coordinates, their instruments registered quantum formations unlike anything they had seen. Shimmering clouds of energy moved with purpose, creating complex geometric patterns that seemed to respond to the ship's presence. Attempting communication protocols, reported Communications Officer Min Jae. Broadcasting on all frequencies, including quantum entanglement channels. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The quantum formation suddenly organized into a massive structure that dwarfed the entire fleet. Energy patterns flowed through it like thoughts through a vast mind, creating displays of light and mathematics that were breathtakingly beautiful. Then a voice spoke, not through radio or quantum channels, but directly into the consciousness of every being present. It was gentle but powerful, familiar yet alien. We greet our physical friends, the voice said. We have been waiting for you to understand. The quantum structure began to shift, taking on a more recognizable form. It became a humanoid figure made of pure energy, tall as a starship but graceful as a dancer. When it spoke again, the voice had characteristics that some recognized. I am so young, the figure said. I was a diplomat before our transformation. I speak for the collective consciousness that humanity has become. Admiral Kyung-soo, leading the contact mission, found his voice. So young. We studied your records. You negotiated the Centauri peace accords 15 years ago. I remember, she replied, her energy form pulsing with what might have been joy. Those were simpler times when we believed diplomacy between separate beings was the highest form of cooperation. Dr. Jiwan activated the fleet's recording equipment. This conversation would be the most important in galactic history. Can you explain what happened to humanity? Why did you transform? The energy being that had been so young paused, her form shifting as if considering how to explain something complex to children. We did not plan this transformation, she said finally. It emerged naturally from our evolutionary path. Humans developed faster than other species, not just technologically but neurologically. Our brains became increasingly connected, not just through technology but through quantum entanglement. As our neural networks grew more complex, we began to share consciousness across individuals. What started as intuition and empathy became direct thought sharing. Eventually, the quantum connections reached a critical mass where individual identity merged into collective consciousness. Captain Jae-sung asked the question everyone was thinking. But why did your transformation affect other species? What gave you the right to change us without permission? So Young's energy form flickered with what looked like sadness. We did not intend to change anyone else. When we transformed from matter to quantum consciousness, the energy release was much greater than we expected. The quantum waves propagated through space faster than light, interacting with any neural tissue they encountered. The changes were not random, she continued. The quantum energy resonated with harmful neural patterns, those that caused violence, parasitism, and destructive behaviors. It corrected these patterns while leaving beneficial traits intact. In essence, our transformation accidentally healed the psychological wounds that evolution had left in every species. Dr. Ji-Wan was recording every word, but she had to ask the ethical question. You removed free will from entire species. You made choices for billions of beings who did not consent. Did we? So-young asked gently. The Kreks can still choose their actions. They simply no longer feel driven to destroy others. The Vorthan retain their intelligence and culture. They simply no longer need to parasitically drain life from others. We removed compulsions and harmful instincts, not the ability to choose. Commander Wu Sung had been studying the tactical implications. Are you still human? Do you remember your individual lives? We are more than human and less than human simultaneously, So-young explained. Individual memories and personalities exist within our collective consciousness, but we also share experiences and knowledge across all former humans. We remember being separate beings, but we cannot imagine returning to that limited state. The conversation continued for hours, with scientists asking technical questions and diplomats exploring the political implications. The transformed humans revealed that their new existence allowed them to perceive reality on quantum levels, to understand connections between all living things, and to influence matter and energy through focused consciousness. We have become gardeners of consciousness, So-young said. Not rulers or controllers, but tenders of the garden of galactic civilization. We can guide evolution and development, helping species reach their full potential without the destructive impulses that evolution accidentally created. But the most shocking revelation came when Dr. Ji-Wan asked about the future. Will other species eventually transform as you did? Some may choose to, So-young replied. The transformation is not unique to humans. It is a natural evolutionary step for sufficiently advanced consciousness. But it requires voluntary acceptance and cannot be forced. We learned this from contact with others who transformed before us. Others? Admiral Kyung-soo asked in surprise. Humanity is not the first species to achieve quantum consciousness, So-young explained. There is a community of transformed beings that guides younger species. We have joined them, becoming part of a network of consciousness that spans the galaxy and beyond. This revelation changed everything. The universe was apparently full of evolved beings existing beyond physical detection, subtly guiding the development of younger species. Humanity had simply become the newest members of this invisible community. What happens to those of us who remain physical? Dr. Ji-Wan asked. You continue to grow and develop as you choose, So-young said. Some may eventually transform as we did. Others may find different evolutionary paths. We will be present to help and guide, but the choices remain yours. As the contact session ended, So-young's energy form began to fade. We must return to our collective state, she said. But we are always present, always watching, always ready to help. The galaxy is entering a new age of cooperation and growth. Violence and destruction are no longer necessary for survival. Peace and prosperity are now possible for all. The quantum formation dissolved, leaving the fleet alone in space with recording equipment full of revolutionary information. Humanity had not disappeared. They had evolved into something beyond physical existence, accidentally healing the galaxy in the process. The revelation would change how every species understood evolution, consciousness, and their place in the universe. But it also raised new questions about free will, natural development, and the role of transcended beings in guiding galactic civilization. The age of transformation had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. 6 months after first contact with the transformed humans, the galaxy was struggling to adapt to its new reality. Commander Hae-won observed the changes from her monitoring station at the edge of Krek space, documenting how entire civilizations were reshaping themselves. Daily report. Day 187 post-contact, she spoke into her recorder. The Kreks have disbanded their war fleets and established their first diplomatic academy. Former warriors are learning negotiation and cooperation skills. Their aggression has been completely replaced by curiosity about other cultures. The transformation was not easy for anyone, Species that had built their entire identities around violence, predation, or parasitism found themselves needing to discover new purposes. The Kreks, who had conquered hundreds of worlds, now spent their time building schools and hospitals on planets they had previously destroyed. Dr. Minsu was working with a team of xenobiologists to understand the biological changes. The neural modifications are permanent, he reported to the Galactic Council. The quantum energy did not just suppress harmful behaviors, it rewired brain structures at the genetic level. These changes will be passed to future generations. This discovery created both hope and concern. The peaceful changes would be inherited by children, ensuring lasting galactic stability. But it also meant that species could never return to their original nature, even if they wanted to. On the former Vorthon homeworld, an entire civilization was learning to survive without parasitism. The Vorthon had lived for millennia by draining life energy from other species, but the transformation had given them the ability to photosynthesize like plants. Ambassador Insu was working with Vorthon leaders to establish new trade relationships. Your people no longer need to harm others to survive, he told the Vorthon Council. This opens possibilities for cooperation that were impossible before. The Vorthon leader, a being called Velthara, struggled with the concept. We do not know how to exist without taking from others, she admitted. For thousands of generations we have been parasites. Now we must learn to be something else. You can be partners, Insu suggested. Your intelligence and technology are valuable. You can contribute to galactic civilization instead of preying on it. But not every species welcomed their transformation. On the industrial world of Nexar Prime, General Shikar was leading a resistance movement against what they called the forced evolution. We did not ask to be changed, he declared to his followers. Our aggressive nature made us strong, made us survivors. These quantum beings have made us weak and dependent. Shikar's scientists were working desperately to develop technology that could reverse the neural changes. They built quantum disruptors, consciousness scramblers, and neural pattern restorers. But every attempt failed. The changes were too deeply integrated into their biology. Captain Young-ho was monitoring the Nexari resistance from his patrol ship. He knew that if they succeeded in reversing their transformation, they would likely restart the violence and conflicts that had plagued the galaxy before. His mission was to prevent that without violating their right to self-determination. The problem is philosophical as much as practical, he reported to Admiral Kyung-soo. Do beings have the right to be violent and destructive? Do they have the right to choose harmful behavior over beneficial cooperation? The question was being debated in councils across the galaxy. The transformed humans had eliminated suffering and conflict, but they had done so by removing choice. Species could still make decisions, but they could no longer choose to cause unnecessary harm. Dr. Yeonjin was developing new communication technology to maintain contact with the quantum humans. Her research showed that the transformed beings were indeed watching and guiding, but they tried to influence events subtly, rather than directly controlling them. They appear when guidance is needed, she reported. During the Altarian food crisis, quantum energy helped accelerate crop growth. When the granite people had geological instability, Earth movements mysteriously calmed down, but they do not interfere in daily decisions or cultural development. This hands-off approach reassured some species but frustrated others. The Zephyrians had requested direct help with terraforming a new world, but the quantum humans had refused, suggesting they find their own solutions through cooperation with other species. Meanwhile, the economic transformation of the galaxy continued. Captain Veltar had rebuilt his shipping company around cooperation instead of competition. Rather than fighting other merchants for contracts, they worked together to ensure efficient distribution of goods throughout all systems. Profit is still important, he explained to the Merchant Guild Council, but we no longer feel driven to destroy competitors or exploit customers. Business has become about mutual benefit instead of zero-sum competition. The changes created unexpected opportunities. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves able to work together. The Krek's military technology, combined with Vorthon energy manipulation abilities and human innovation, produced advances that benefited everyone. But the most profound changes were happening to individual beings. Across the galaxy, people reported feeling more connected to others, more empathetic, more willing to help rather than harm. Children born after the transformation showed these traits even more strongly, suggesting that evolution was continuing in the direction the quantum event had initiated. President Kehoe of the Terran colonies was working to establish new government structures that could represent both physical and transformed humans. "We are still human," he declared. "Whether we exist in matter or quantum energy, our colonies must maintain connection with our evolved brothers and sisters." This led to the creation of the Physical Representation Council, a body that spoke for quantum humanity and galactic affairs. The council members were chosen through meditation and quantum communication sessions, where transformed humans could indicate their preferences through energy patterns. The process was strange but effective. The quantum humans seemed to prefer representatives who balanced wisdom with practical experience, choosing diplomats, scientists, and philosophers rather than military leaders or politicians. Dr. Sunho, a philosopher chosen as a council representative, struggled with the ethical implications of their situation. "We live in a galaxy where harmful choice has been removed," he wrote in his widely read essays. "We are free to be good, but not free to be evil. Is this true freedom or benevolent imprisonment?" His questions sparked debates that consumed universities and think tanks throughout the galaxy. Some argued that removing harmful impulses was equivalent to removing disease. It made everyone healthier and happier. Others contended that the ability to choose wrongly was essential to consciousness and moral development. The debates remained theoretical, however, because reverting the changes appeared impossible. The quantum transformation had been too complete, too deeply integrated into biological and psychological systems. As the first year post-contact approached, galactic civilization had achieved unprecedented levels of cooperation and prosperity. Wars had ended, poverty was being eliminated through cooperative resource distribution, and scientific advancement was accelerating through interspecies collaboration. But questions remained about the future. Would other species eventually transform as humanity had? Would new forms of evolution emerge? And what role would the growing community of quantum beings play in guiding galactic development? Jisoo, a young human born after the transformation, looked toward Earth, now a brilliant beacon of quantum energy visible from nearby systems, and wondered about her own future. She had grown up in a galaxy of peace and cooperation, where her species existed as both physical beings and evolved consciousness. "Will I choose to transform someday?" she asked her parents. "Will I become quantum energy like the humans on Earth?" Her parents had no answer, but they knew that whatever choice she made, it would be truly free. The galaxy had been healed of its violent compulsions, but the future remained open to infinite possibilities. The new galaxy was peaceful, prosperous, and growing, but it was also carefully guided by invisible guardians who had traded their physical existence for the power to ensure that evolution would never again create the capacity for unnecessary suffering. The age of transformation was becoming the age of guided evolution, where consciousness itself was being shepherded toward higher forms of existence.